Everybody, welcome back to another edition of 30 Teams in 30 Days here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. So glad you decided to click on this video, and as always, I hope you're entertained. For those who do not know, I am Mateo. I host all the podcasts here on the channel. And yeah, I'm just glad you clicked on this episode here. We're talking all things Philadelphia 76ers for day 17 of 30 Teams in 30 Days here on June 17th, 2026. It's our NBA offseason preview where we take a look at every single NBA team during the month of June, preview their offseason, recap their season, and just talk about that team for the next 25 to 30 or so minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you guys. We have hit over 200 subscribers. Thank you so much for all your support, as always. And let me not waste much of your time, and let's just get right into it. Here's a quick order. Yes, you've noticed, well, there's an X on the left side of the screen because, yeah, we are over halfway through this series. We're on day 17. We've done 16 teams already. And the left half is useless because we already did the Wizards. We already did the Pacers and company. We start with the worst record. We go through the best record. So that's starting with the Wizards, ending with the Thunder. And it's 76ers time. We're talking about playoff teams now, really, from here on out. We're talking about playoff teams. It's just going to be fun. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And now let's get into it. Mateo Show batting order. You're going to see on all these videos and on this channel, really every single podcast, there's going to be a show batting order. 5 same things, though, for 30 teams in 30 days, every single episode in this series. How well did they do last season? Who they should draft, who they should keep, who they should target, and what is their early ceiling and floor. So without further ado, it's the Philadelphia 76ers, and bam, here we go, 2025-2026 season where, yes, we're just going to quickly recap their season, take a look at some stats, and I'll just give some key thoughts and what I think of the 76ers season, because I really did like what the 76ers brought to the table in 2025, in the 2025-2026 season. So let's go over here. Bam. And then, yes, they were 45-37, 7th spot in the Eastern Conference. Did end up going on a little playoff run before getting swept by the eventual NBA champions, the New York Knicks. The top scorer was Tyrese Maxey. Top assister was Tyrese Maxey as well. Top rebounder was Andrew Drummond. Because we'll talk about some injuries that happened due to Joel Embiid and company, who probably would have gotten that top rebounder award, but it is what it is. They do have the 22nd overall pick in the draft. You know, it's actually not their original pick. I think they have the Rockets pick, and then their actual pick is at like pick 12 or something like that, and that is with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thought I just mentioned that for the heck of it, but we'll go over to some stats here. Tyrese Maxey led the team in points per game at 28.3 points. He had a terrific season, really all year, played 70 games, 28.3 points per game, 4.1 rebounds per game, and 6.6 assists. Joel Embiid, despite only playing 38 games, did average 26.9 points, 7.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists in those 38 games. He did play way more throughout the postseason, which was good to see. Paul George also definitely struggled with injuries as normal for his career. Unfortunately, in 37 games, he averaged 17.3 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, and 3.6 assists. VJ Edgecombe in his really rookie season, I mean, he's probably one of my favorite rookies out of this class. Besides Con Knipple, he averaged 16 points on the dot in 75 games, 5.6 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes both had terrific seasons off the bench for the Philadelphia 76ers. Both actually are going to be free agents, so that is going to be a story that we're going to talk about in the coming minutes. And then, Jared McCain, obviously before getting traded to OKC at the trade deadline, had a okay start. He did play 37 games for them. Andrew Drummond played 63 games, 6.4 points, 8.4 rebounds. That was the team lead in rebounds and 1.3 assists. Some other leaders for you: Tyrese Maxey led the team in steals per game with 1.9, and blocks per game was Adem Bona with 1.2. And how many total games did he play? He played 71 total games, started 18 of them. So that's an overview of the key stats for the key players of the Philadelphia 76ers. I feel like the big takeaway from the 76ers season was nobody was expecting them to go on the road fall 3-1 to the Boston Celtics, and then come back to win that series. No one was expecting that. I don't even think their own fans were expecting that, if we're being completely honest. But that was just really the story of the season. A shockingly well uh, well performed season if you're talking about the 76ers season. I really liked what they put together. I like Maxey a lot. I like VJ Edgecombe. Joel Embiid and Paul George, a little older, dealt with injuries, sure. So that also makes you wonder if they would have been healthy. They only played 38 games. George played 37. Embiid played 38. They won 45 games without them really in their lineup for half the time. You say maybe they even play 50 games. Is this a 50-win team? It's something to think about as we continue to break down the 76ers here in this episode. But yeah, they do have a lot of free agents, so we'll try to keep it going because there's going to be a lot to talk about in the coming minutes here on the podcast. But we'll move over to the second part here, the second section with the draft. They do have the 22nd overall pick, so we'll go through this mock draft. I don't know what that was. They are the team. They actually have the farthest pick down the line, if you will. 22nd. I think that's the farthest that we've gone so far. We've been hovering around 12, 13, 14. We have not gone down. So here's also just wanted to make sure 17 would have been what they would have had if they had not traded that pick to OKC, but OKC gets the 17th pick in result. So we're just going to start. I don't think they trade up. I really don't think. We're just going to go one round here for the Philadelphia 76ers. So yeah, DeBonza goes 1, Peterson goes 2, Bouger goes 3, Wilson goes 4, Acuff goes 5, Michael Brown goes 6, Brendan Burries goes 7, Fleming's 8, Ament 9 to the Mavs, Phylon 10, Yaxel ends up going to the OKC Thunder. Man, Adai Mara falls to the Bulls at 15. Steinbeck goes to the OKC Thunder. Isaiah Evans, Koa Pete, Peter Suter. So who falls? Kareem Lopez falls to 22. So does Bennett Sturts. Dylan Swain is also available. But before we make the pick, I feel like we have to, as always, go to the depth chart and take a look and kind of address this roster and see what is an area of improvement. What's their most needed position? Because that, I think, does come into play when teams are thinking about their draft, pick, right? Their draft picks. So there's a forward available. There's some guards. There's even a couple centers down the line. So we'll take a quick look here. Bam, there's the depth chart. Yeah, I say bam a little too much. But they have some solid guards. Now, Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre Jr. will be free agents. So maybe another guard to pair alongside the young guard core of Maxey and Edgecombe could be a pretty good idea, especially in a guard-loaded draft. Kelly Oubre also, and Paul George are your threes right now. You could try to maybe deepen that core. You're looking at this team. It's very interesting how this team is built because you wouldn't think. I mean, there's definitely spots needed, especially off the bench. So I do think whoever they end up picking is going to be off the bench, and it's going to be a good fit no matter what. So when you're looking at who's still available in this potential in this mock draft, I think Bennett Sturts or Dylan Swain is the guy to go here. I think you maybe pass on Kareem Lopez. And you can see there's not a clear number one choice when people are doing these mock drafts because it tells you 19% of people are having Lopez go here. But that's just 19%. Then there's 70% having Sturts, 12% Swain, right? Pick 22 and really moving forward from pick 22, it's very interesting. Really, I'd say the bottom 10 picks are just maybe you end up taking the best player available or you maybe try to make a trade. I'm not completely sure. But again, when you're looking at this depth chart, you could really go anywhere and you'd be fine. Just because it's very interesting because you also have an interesting free agency group of guys. Like when you're looking here, you have Grimes a free agent, Oubre is free agent, Drummond a free agent, Lowry a free agent, Barlow a free agent. A lot of your bench is a free agent. So you can really go anywhere, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily a bad pick. I think it's definitely between Kareem Lopez and Bennett Sturts. Since Lopez fell 6 spots, I think maybe we end up taking him. Do we end up taking him, or do we have him fall a little bit more? It's between Lopez and Sturts. Let's go Sturts. I think guard makes the most sense, so you don't have to bring back both uh, Oubre and Grimes. Maybe you just have to bring back one of them, and then Sturts can fill in for the other if that's really what you want. Interesting. Kareem Lopez ended up falling to the New York Knicks. Let's just finish out this first round. Denver, Boston. Swain falls to Boston. Timberwolves take Reed, Edwards. Okay, cool. So yeah, Bennett Sturts is going to be our draftee for this mock draft. And I mean, I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it. So that's moving on from the draft. Now we can go over to the start free agency. We split free agency into 2 separate sections. The first half is taking a look at the team's own free agents, and then I'll kind of talk you through very quickly who I think they should sign, who I think they should let walk. And then the second half is where we will take a look at potential targets, either from the open market, but also from the trade block, if you will. So, bam, here's a look at their free agents: Quentin Grimes, Kelly Oubre, Drummond, Lowry, Barlow, and a bunch of other younger options here. So let's get the pen out for a second. Quentin Grimes and Oubre we'll talk about these 3 guys in the end. But first things first, take these club options, I think, on Watford, Terry, and Dominic Barlow. I think they're cheap club options, all under $3.4 million. I think that's really solid. I would consider Majoran here. I'd say maybe just let him walk. Maybe you bring him back if you need an extra roster spot, but I think you're going to have enough of those, so you're going to have to let some of these guys walk. Tyrese Martin, I think you bring him back on that 2-way contract. He can play in the G League, and if you need him, sure, great. He's pretty cheap. But then these 4 guys, Kyle Lowry's 40 years old. I think you let him walk. You can find a backup point guard if you really want him to be your backup point guard. You can find somebody else in free agency, or maybe just use that $3.6 million to go or to contribute somewhere else. Andre Drummond, on the other hand, here is 33 years old, but he's a valuable center. I think you try to bring him back for $5 million or less. Now, if it's more than that, if he wants more than that, I'd say, okay, no. I think your ceiling for wanting to spend money should be about what he's making this year at 5. I'd consider probably maybe doing a veteran league minimum. We can go to Fanspo. And see what a league minimum would be for Andre Drummond. We can go over here. A veteran league, what's a standard contract here? I think of just 1 year. Minimum would actually be 3.9, but the recommended salary is 12. Yeah, see, I would do the 3 million. So 3.9 is the minimum. Yeah, I mean, something like that. You could easily do that, and it's actually not. I feel like we're at the point where either Andre Drummond, maybe you could even go 2. You could go 2 years potentially as well for Andre Drummond. Maybe give him a little bit more money. But yeah, don't spend more than $5 million per year for Andre Drummond. But I still think you end up bringing him back. And then I do think you have to pick between one of these guys, Kelly Oubre or Quentin Grimes, just so you have a little bit more flexibility. Now, certainly they both have birds, meaning you can go over the salary cap to re-sign them. However, I'd say for best things best, they're making about the same amount of money. You do have some money, but it's still not necessarily what you want, because you are paying Joel Embiid $58 million. You are paying Paul George $54 million. You're paying Tyrese Maxey $40 million. You're going to have to pay VJ Edgecombe eventually. So I think just looking for the future, and that's going to be the key thing here or the key theme for the 76ers. You got to look towards the future, because a lot of your guys right now, Paul George and company, a little bit towards the end of their career in a sense, where you got to save money so you can pay these younger guys, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, etc. And so that's going to kind of be what I think here. Kelly Oubre, I think he's been great. If you can get him for a cheap deal, sure, obviously, right? He's a talented basketball player, but I think he fits another team better. I don't know what team that is currently. I think Quentin Grimes, you want him. He's a young guard. He can back up VJ Edgecombe. He can back up Tyrese Maxey. And I really like Q Grimes. I've definitely, you know how much I liked him because I've literally suggested almost any team that needs a guard. I always put the Quentin Grimes name there, but I think it's a number one priority for the 76ers from this whole class. You need to re-sign Quentin Grimes right here. He's your number one priority from your own free agents. He's got to be that priority. So that's what I'm thinking here. But let me know, of course, what you guys think the 76ers should do with their own free agents. But now we can pause. We can have a little bit of fun. Yes, it's a little shorter of an episode. That's okay. You probably like the shorter episodes compared to the 40-minute episodes anyway. Bam! To the not to free agent. Yeah, free agency here. The second half of free agency, where I will try to predict who the 76ers will pursue, who they will sign either by the open market or by a trade. So bam, there's my top targets. Grime/Oubre. It's like you got to get one of them. That's the top of my list. Again, me personally, I'm like, go get Grimes. Literally, I've been saying anybody who ends up with Grimes is going to be good. He's a solid two guard for the bench. He could even start in some team scenarios, but go get Quentin Grimes, please. 76ers, lock him up. You can go over the salary cap. You're the only team that has that advantage. Sign him if you need to. However, this obviously comes to a fact. You lose Oubre. You need somebody maybe to play. You need some more guard depth. You need some more bench depth. Anthony Simons, CJ McCollum on maybe a smaller deal, not that $30 million garbage that he's making right now. It's crazy. He's making $32 million last year. I think he's almost 35 years old. CJ McCollum, half of that is solid. We saw with the Atlanta Hawks that he still has got something for a backup shooting guard or a backup point guard. He could be really legit. I think, I'd take him over Kyle Lowry right now. So, my vision here for this backcourt is Tyrese Maxey. If all things go to plan, it's Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, and CJ McCollum on a cheaper deal. And then you kind of figure out what you want to do. Paul George can play the 3 maybe or the 4. And then you figure out the other forward and then Joel Embiid if you keep this team relatively the same. But also there are some options to either go get a younger center or potentially Jimmy Butler, because the Warriors have expressed some interest in trading Jimmy Butler, obviously, because of his injury history. But why not? They've also had some experience or some interest, reported interest in trying to target or trying to get and acquire Paul George, even though his salary is a little crazy. So we're gonna have some fun with this. We're gonna have some fun and mess around in the trade finders here. Jimmy Butler, currently 36 years old. He's actually the same age as Paul George. So in theory, this would kind of make sense. They're actually making pretty much the same amount of money. And in a sense, Jimmy Butler is an expiring deal. So you could take him for 1 year, just have to pay him that salary 1 year. You're going to have to pay Paul George that money anyway for the next 2 years. So you get off 1 year extra of Paul George. And this would work, I think, 1-for-1, right? This would work. It would work 1-for-1. Now, I do think since the Warriors are taking on an extra year of Paul George, they would have to get something else in return. And I think the 76ers would be okay throwing in a late first-round pick, say like a 2032 first-round pick, and Paul George for Jimmy Butler. Just because he is coming off that injury, something like this could work. But I do think a larger trade could happen. So now I also said you could potentially, obviously, here's first things first. Let's slow it quick down. I think the Jimmy Butler trade is very realistic, but I also said younger center, question mark. There are teams that need centers, maybe more than the 76ers need Joel Embiid. And maybe it's time to move on from Joel Embiid, who always seems to be injured come playoff time. But there are teams like the Raptors and the Hornets that have expressed that they need a center. It's clear that they need a center, and maybe they take a chance on Joel Embiid, who's one of the league's best centers when healthy. So say they do this trade. I think they keep this trade. Now we're going to add, me personally, I like the Toronto fit for Joel Embiid a little bit more than the Charlotte fit. I do think the Charlotte Hornets are going to try to pursue Rudy Gobert, as I've spoken about a lot. But Joel Embiid going to the Raptors, now you would have to say, okay, what would they get back? Well, I think they would definitely need a center in return because they still need a center. I don't think Andre Drummond is going to be their backup center. So that they would get Jakob Poeltl, who can still play. He's just a little way cheaper. He's way cheaper, only making $19.5 million compared to $58.1 million. So he would go to the 76ers. But obviously, you would need a little bit more to make that salary work. And now you got to figure out, well, who is that? Could it be an expiring deal of RJ Barrett? Could be, and you can move him to the 3. But more realistically, I think the Raptors would want to keep RJ Barrett, and I'd consider moving Brandon Ingram. RJ Barrett is 25 years old. Ingram is 28. He's a little older, and then you still keep Scottie Barnes. So your new kind of roster, your new starting lineup in Toronto, if this would work, and it could, I think it could very well work, would be Joel Embiid at the 5. At the 4 would be Scottie Barnes. At the 1 would be Quickly. At the 2 would be Barrett, and then you'd figure out somebody for the 3. You could maybe trade Grady Dick and Colin Murray's Boyles for a 3. You could draft a 3. You could move Barrett to the 3 and have Grady Dick play at the 2, or vice versa. I just want to see if this would work financially. And also let me know, is Joel Embiid for Jakob Poeltl and Brandon Ingram enough? Maybe you would need to add in a pick. This trade works financially, so maybe the Raptors do have to give up, say, okay, we'll give you, what pick do they have in this upcoming draft? They have currently the 19th overall pick. Maybe they say, okay, it's fine. We're getting Joel Embiid. We're gonna swing for the fences a little bit here. You can get an extra first round pick. This goes through, and this could be a very interesting 3-team trade that I do think could work. And then personally, for the 76ers, I do like this. I really do. You get Jimmy Butler, Jakob Poeltl, Brandon Ingram, and a first round pick for Paul George, a first, and Joel Embiid. Possibly this would be your lineup then. It would be most likely, possibly, just as this is me thinking in my head, thinking outside my head, talking out loud, thinking out loud. That's the phrase that I was looking for. Golly. It would be at the point guard, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe at the 2, probably Jimmy Butler at the 3, and then, would it be Jimmy Butler or Brandon Ingram? You would be running a smaller 4. That's okay. But then you, of course, have Jakob Poeltl at the 5. Yeah, I mean, I think that could work. So here in theory, these are your starting 5 most likely. You can see here. This is on the 76ers side of the screen. The 570 on the 76ers side, those are who I'm thinking would be your starting 5. Or maybe I don't think they would do Scottie Barnes for Joel Embiid. I don't think they would do that. And maybe you flip Brandon Ingram for a 4 at this point, or maybe you do for some more size. I mean, that could be up to them. Maybe flipping Brandon Ingram for Draymond be interesting? That could be interesting, but I don't think so. But I just think you have a lot of flexibility, so something like this could very well happen. But yeah, I really like this idea. As always, let's take a quick look at some trade proposals from the people on Fanspo. Fanspo.com is an amazing NBA. It does have NFL, but I don't know if I want to check. I've actually been wanting to figure this out. I don't know if the NFL's trade machines are up to date, because I think it's like it's the 2023 season. They've really focused on NBA. But let us see some trade proposals from just all the users on Fanspo. I just really like their website here. So I'd say let's first start with Paul George. Let's see what people think Paul George's value is, and then they obviously comment here. So I'm going to put the newest first just because it's more realistically. Actually, here, just because I feel like the newer the trades are, the more it makes sense because they've been listening to the same things we've all been hearing currently. So 9 minutes ago when I'm recording this, the Hornets would get Domantas Sabonis. Again, Hornets are a team that needs a center. So I do think if maybe the Rudy Gobert thing doesn't work out, they could potentially try to go grab Joel Embiid. But the Hornets would get a second-round pick in this deal as well as Domantas Sabonis. The Clippers would get Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, 2 firsts and 2 seconds. 76ers would get DeAndre Hunter, Malik Monk, and Saloon. Kings would get George Green, Williams, Grady Dick, 4 firsts. 4 firsts. Who else are they giving up? I mean, they are giving up really half their team and a second-round pick. And then the Raptors get Kawhi, Darius Garland, DeMar DeRozan, and a first. Man, there is a lot going on here. Is there anybody that's commented? No, zero comments. So let me break this down a little bit. For Sabonis, Hunter, I mean, it's really okay. Kings, yeah, and it's headline Kings blow up. I don't think this is totally realistic, but it's a fun idea. There's just too much going on over there. Here's 1 minute ago. Amazing. Trey Murphy goes to the Pacers. Obi Toppin. This is not Paul George, bro. That is not Paul George. Oh my gosh. Wow, guys. I thought I kept. All right, whatever. This would have Paul George going to the Bucks. You see, I just don't think that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense because especially because I see they're trading Giannis in this deal, so I don't like that. This would have Paul George going to the San Antonio Spurs, which I actually do like this. This is a sneaky pick. Keldon Johnson, 6th man of the year, goes to the Rockets. Shaden Sharp and Grant go to the 76ers. I like that duo in Philly. De'Aaron Fox goes to the Blazers, and so does Clayton Capella. And then Finney Smith, 2 seconds, and Paul George to the Spurs. I think that's actually a pretty fair deal. No thanks on Fox. I also think George would require first to move. So this guy thinks he's a Blazers fan. They say, I don't think anybody really wants De'Aaron Fox unless you're desperate for a point guard. They think you need multiple firsts for Paul George. Is he that valuable at 36 years old? I'm not quite certain. Here. This is titled, I don't know, De'Aaron Fox a first and a second for Paul George. Just saying, give me just take De'Aaron Fox away from me. I don't hate the idea of Paul George going to the Spurs here. Let's actually try to figure out, let's make a little trade of our own here. Paul George going to the Spurs. I like that idea. I really actually do like that idea. Let us go Spurs, because that is kind of a piece that they're missing. They need that veteran. I like that. Okay, see what we can do. So $54 million, they can definitely take that. They have the money. So yeah, maybe it would be De'Aaron Fox. I'm trying to think if there would be anybody else that would make a little bit more sense. Like, I don't think they would get rid of Devin Vassell, Harper, or Castle, or Wemby, of course. But for Paul George, would you like, maybe it is Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson could replace Paul George even in the starting lineup potentially. Maybe Carter Bryant and a first round pick. Maybe not this first round pick. Maybe a pick in 2027 via Atlanta. Would this work financially? No. 23 million. Maybe you do have to. You probably have to get rid of De'Aaron Fox just for this to work financially. There are some there's the Harrison Barnes here. Renounce cap hold. This should work now, right? No, it doesn't. Never mind then. Let's give this guy an extension. Harrison Barnes, we can do a sign and trade. We could probably do a sign and trade here. Whoops. Undo renounce. Sign and trade is what we do here. We can't do it. Can we do a sign? Oh, yeah, we have to. Okay, by the way, you can do a sign and trade for a 1 year, but it just right now, it is what it is. Right now, recommended salaries based off performance. Sure, we'll just do that. That's what they're recommending. I think Barnes would probably require a little bit more. So now Barnes, he can also go to the 76ers as the part of this trade, and then this would probably work financially. No, it would not. 1 million shy. Okay, so something like that. You maybe give him a little bit more money. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you have options. I do like it. Like, I get why they're saying include De'Aaron Fox. I just don't know if it makes sense because there's these you almost in a sense have De'Aaron Fox come off the bench. So I don't love the De'Aaron Fox fit in 76ers, but maybe you include a third team, a team that needs a point guard. Like, I mean, Toronto, I wouldn't be opposed to Toronto getting De'Aaron Fox, but I also think they might pursue not Giannis, Kyrie. Who's a team that needs a point guard that doesn't have one? Like, send De'Aaron Fox to the Nets and put MPJ to the Spurs. Those contracts, I think, would probably work. Paul George goes to the Spurs. De'Aaron Fox goes to the Nets. Send him over there. And then MPJ on expiring deal goes to the 76. No. To the 76ers. Would this all work? All their contracts are semi there. Yeah, it would work. A 1-for-1-for-1. I mean, I think there would probably need to be extra maybe picks involved, but for the contracts, they all work. Let me know if you guys like this one. But yeah, I think that's where we might end this video today. It's another shorter episode. I just keep flying through these guys. Appreciate you guys for watching. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas, let me know on some trades. I guess we could quickly check. We could quickly check to see if there's any trade proposals for Joel Embiid. I just want to see teams because I think I know kind of what his value is. I just want to see any specific trades that catch my attention before we go through ceiling and floor. So to the Timberwolves, I just don't like the idea of him coming to the Timberwolves as a Timberwolves fan. To the Magic, Orlando Magic. We just did the Magic soon. The Mavs have been in the news lately, so I'm like, Kyrie, PJ Washington in a first. Like, I don't think the 76ers need another guard. I really don't. I think they have their solid guards. But yeah, I mean, I think it could be a mix of Gafford and Picks and PJ Washington. That could work. Just give them some more role players. But yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see what people are saying. But yeah, those are kind of who I think should be their top targets. Jimmy Butler definitely intrigues me. Paul George to the Spurs now intrigues me kind of a little bit. But let me know which move you think intrigues you the most. Do you think they should try to go for a younger center and get rid of Paul George and Joel Embiid? Let me know in the comments down below. But before we go, again, we're going to have ceiling and floor. If you're not familiar with this series, there's going to be 2 bullet points saying without the moves I make and with the moves I make. And guys, it's going to be fairly simple. There's going to actually be the same ceiling despite the moves they make because I think this team is built in a pretty dang good way. Without the moves I suggest, I think their ceiling is a second round win. I think they can make it to the second round, but that's kind of their ceiling. But even if they make some of the moves I suggest, I don't think this team necessarily gets better this year. I think it gets better for years to come, but maybe not necessarily this year because there is some respect to Paul George and Joel Embiid's name. So I think no matter what they do, the ceiling that I'm going to give them currently, unless they make a huge blockbuster deal, is a second round exit, if you will. Making the second round is their ceiling. Obviously, their floor is being the worst team in the league. More on this, like if they go out and get a Giannis or a Jaylen Brown or someone like that, that elevates. But currently, like if they go out and grab some younger pieces, I think this year they're going to be about the same. But then in a couple years, they're going to be even better once these younger players get some more experience. But I still don't think they're going to just get a bunch of young players that aren't going to contribute. They're going to be young star players. So that's the key word. So that's what I think here. Let me know what you think their ceiling and floor is for this 2026-2027 season. But appreciate you guys for watching. And I really do hope you guys come back for tomorrow's episode. We got a new team coming up tomorrow, and of course, after June, we'll go back to every Tuesday and every Thursday talking about Minnesota sports on our podcast here. Try to post daily shorts, live streams we haven't really done for a while. Kingdom Competitors, though, comes every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for watching. And here's one more look at the schedule. We got the Phoenix Suns tomorrow for day 18 on June 18th. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe button. Turn the notification bell button on so you never miss any episodes and so you don't miss the Phoenix Suns episode tomorrow, especially if you're a Suns fan. There's definitely going to be some juicy trade talks in that episode. But for now, this is Mateo saying goodbye for now. And don't forget to keep God first because, of course, he's the most important thing in your lives. And I'll see you guys all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.